Welcome to English in Fluency. I am so happy you are here today. My name is Jessica, and I want to talk to you about something that happens every single day in English-speaking countries, but something that rarely makes it into your textbooks. Have you ever been in a conversation with a native English speaker, and you smiled and you nodded, but deep down, you had absolutely no idea what they actually meant? You heard the words, you understood the words, but something felt off? Maybe they said you did a great job, but their voice sounded strange. Or maybe they said a situation was just perfect when everything was actually going completely wrong. If you have felt that confusing feeling, do not worry at all, because you are in the right place. Today, we are going to dive deep into B1 English listening practice, but we are not just going to listen to slow, clear sentences. We are going to learn how to understand sarcasm and subtle meaning. We are going to train your ears to catch what speakers really intend. So next time someone says something a little bit tricky, you will not just smile and nod. You will actually understand the joke, and you might even laugh along with them. This is the kind of skill that takes you from sounding like a textbook to sounding like you truly belong in an English-speaking environment. So grab a cup of coffee, get comfortable, and let us start training your ears. When you learn English at a beginner level, everything is very direct. People say exactly what they mean. If someone is happy, they say they are happy. If someone is angry, they use angry words. But as you move up to that intermediate level, which is B1, the game completely changes. Native speakers start playing with the language. They start hiding their true feelings inside innocent-sounding sentences. And this is what we call sarcasm. Sarcasm is basically when someone says the exact opposite of what they actually mean, but they use a specific tone of voice to show you that they are joking. It is a way to be funny, or sometimes it is a gentle way to complain without being rude. For example, imagine you are walking outside with a friend, and suddenly it starts raining very heavily. You have no umbrella, you are getting completely wet, and your friend looks at the sky and says, "Oh, what beautiful weather we are having today." Now, if you just learned English, you might look at your friend and think they are crazy because the weather is clearly terrible. But your friend is using sarcasm. They are saying the opposite of reality to make a joke about how bad the situation is. It brings you closer together because you both understand that the situation is bad and you can laugh about it together. The biggest problem for English learners is that sarcasm is all about how things sound, and you cannot learn how it sounds from reading a book. You have to hear it. You have to train your brain to listen to the music of the English language, not just the words. When someone is being sarcastic, their voice usually changes. Sometimes they stretch the words out, making them longer than normal. Instead of saying great, they might say greed. Sometimes their voice goes flat, meaning it has no emotion in it at all, which is a big clue that they are hiding their real feelings. If a friend drops a plate of food on the floor and you say, "Well, that was intelligent," your voice will probably go flat and quiet. You are not actually calling them intelligent. You are joking about their mistake. Another way native speakers show sarcasm is by being overly dramatic. If a tiny drop of rain falls on your shirt and someone gasps and says, "Oh no, we are going to drown," they are using exaggeration combined with sarcasm. They do not actually think you are going to drown. They are just making fun of a very small problem. Context is your best friend when you are trying to figure out if someone is being sarcastic. Context just means the situation happening right now. If you buy a brand new car, it is shiny, it smells new, and your friend says, "Nice car," and they mean it. They are giving you a real compliment. But if you are driving a car that is 20 years old, the paint is falling off, the windows are broken, and it makes a loud screaming noise every time you turn the steering wheel, and your friend says, "Nice car," you instantly know they are being sarcastic. The situation tells you that the words do not match the reality. As a B1 listener, you need to practice looking at the situation first and then listening to the words. If the words in the situation do not match, your brain should immediately send you a warning signal. It should tell you, "Hey, wait a minute, this does not make sense. They must be joking." Let me tell you a story about two people I know, Sarah and Marcus. They work together in a small office. One Monday morning, Marcus walks into the office, looking extremely tired. He has dark circles under his eyes, his hair is messy, and he is moving very slowly. He sits down at his desk, takes a deep breath, and looks at his computer. Sarah walks over with a big smile on her face and says, "Wow, Marcus, you look so energetic today. Did you sleep for 20 hours? Now, I want you to think about this for a second. Does Marcus look energetic? No, he looks exhausted. So why did Sarah say that? She said it because she wanted to make a lighthearted joke about how tired he looks. If she just said, "You look terrible," it might hurt his feelings. But by saying the opposite and using a friendly, slightly exaggerated tone, she is including him in a joke. She expects Marcus to laugh and say something like, "Oh yes, I feel amazing," which would be him playing along with the sarcasm. If you were standing in that office, you would hear Sarah say energetic, but her voice would probably go up at the end, and she would be smiling. Your ears would hear the word energetic, but your brain would see the tired man, and you would put the two together to understand the real meaning. Now let us look at another very common situation where subtle meaning is used all the time. This happens a lot in restaurants or cafes. Imagine my friends, Emily and David, go out for dinner. They order their food, and after 30 minutes, the waiter finally brings it to their table. But the soup is cold, and the bread is hard as a rock. The waiter sets the plates down and asks, "How is everything tasting for you?" David looks at his cold soup, looks up at the waiter, and says, "Well, it is certainly interesting." He does not shout. He does not say, "This soup is cold, take it back." He uses a very subtle word, interesting. In normal English, interesting is a good word. It means something catches your attention, but in a restaurant, when your food is bad, interesting is a secret code word for bad. David is using a subtle meaning to complain politely. He is hoping the waiter is smart enough to hear the tone of his voice. Realize that interesting is a strange word to describe cold soup, and understand that he is not happy. As a listener, when you hear someone describe a bad situation as interesting, you should understand that they are actually unhappy, but they are trying to be polite about it. This idea of being polite while hiding negative feelings is everywhere in English. Native speakers hate confrontation. They do not like making other people feel bad, so they hide their true feelings behind soft words. If you ask someone to help you move to a new apartment this weekend, and they pause, look away, and say, "I would love to help, But I am just incredibly busy this weekend. What do they really mean? They mean no. They mean they do not want to help you. But they cannot just say no, because in English culture, saying a direct no can feel too harsh. So they use the word love to soften the blow, and then they give a vague excuse about being busy. If you are listening carefully, the subtle meaning is in the pause and the vague excuse. If someone really wanted to help you, they would say, "Sure, what time should I be there?" They would not need to think about it. The pause before they speak is a huge clue that they are searching for a polite way to say no. Let us practice another scenario together. Imagine you are at the movies with your friend Chloe. You both buy a large bucket of popcorn. You sit down, the lights go dark, and 10 minutes into the movie, Chloe accidentally drops the entire bucket of popcorn on the floor. It makes a huge noise, and popcorn goes everywhere. You both look down at the floor, and then you look at Chloe, and you say, "Thanks a lot, Chloe. You are my favorite person right now." If a B1 English learner hears this, they might think you are genuinely thanking Chloe. They might think you are saying she is a great friend. But think about the context. She just ruined the popcorn. You are obviously annoyed. So by using a phrase that is normally used for deep gratitude, you are doing exactly what Sarah did with Marcus. You are saying the opposite of what you feel to show your annoyance in a joking way. If you actually said, "I am so mad at you, you dropped the popcorn," it would ruin the fun mood of the movie. By using sarcasm, you are expressing your frustration, but you are keeping the mood light. When you listen to native speakers, you will hear them say "thanks a lot" in this angry or annoyed tone all the time. A mother might say "thanks a lot" to her child when the child tracks mud all over the clean floor. It is never a real thank you. It is always a sarcastic way of showing frustration. Understanding these subtle meanings is like having a superpower. It makes you feel confident because you are no longer just translating words in your head. You are actually understanding the culture and the emotions behind the words. I want to talk about another type of subtle meaning that is very different from sarcasm. Sometimes native speakers do not say the opposite of what they mean. Sometimes they just say a small part of what they mean, and they expect you to guess the rest. This is called understatement. Understatement is when you make a situation seem much smaller or less important than it actually is. Imagine your friend Tom just ran a marathon. He ran for 4 hours. He is sweating, his legs are shaking, and he tells you, "I am a little bit tired." A little bit? He is exhausted. But in English, especially in British English, people love to understate things to seem calm and relaxed. If you see a massive spider on the wall, someone might say, "We have a slight spider problem." By using the word slight, they are making a joke about how huge the spider actually is. When you are practicing your listening, if you hear someone use words like a little bit, slightly, or not bad in a situation that is actually very big or very good, you should understand that they are using understatement. If you ask someone how their vacation was and it was absolutely amazing, they might just say, "It was not too bad." In normal English, not too bad means it was okay. But with a smile and a relaxed tone, it actually means it was fantastic. Let us put all of this together into a longer story so you can hear how these things sound in a real conversation. I want you to close your eyes and imagine you are sitting in a small coffee shop. It is a Friday afternoon. It has been raining outside all day long. The windows are wet, the sky is gray, and the coffee shop is completely full of wet people. You are sitting with your friends, Lisa and Ben. Lisa is looking at her phone, and she looks very stressed. Ben is drinking his coffee and trying to relax. Listen to how they talk to each other. Lisa puts her phone down on the table and sighs. She says, "Well, my boss just sent me an email. I only have to write 50 reports by Monday morning. It should be a completely relaxing weekend." Now, I want you to think about what Lisa just said. Does she really think it will be a relaxing weekend? No. Writing 50 reports is a huge amount of work. She is using heavy sarcasm. She is pretending to be excited about a terrible situation. She says it should be a completely relaxing weekend, but her voice will be flat and tired. She expects Ben to understand that she is actually very upset. Ben looks at her, nods his head, and says, "Oh, lucky you. I am sure you will have plenty of time to sleep." Ben is matching her sarcasm. He knows she is upset, so he plays along. He uses the words, "lucky you," which is the opposite of how she feels. Lisa laughs a little bit, and then she looks out the window at the rain. She says, "And this weather is just perfect for staying inside and working." Again, she says perfect, but the rain is gloomy and depressing. She is using sarcasm to complain about the weather without actually whining. Ben smiles and says, "Absolutely. We definitely needed more rain. I was worried the streets were getting too dry. Now they are both exaggerating. The streets were not dry. It has been raining for hours." But by agreeing with her sarcastic statement and making it even more ridiculous, they are bonding over their shared frustration. If you were sitting at that table and you only listened to the dictionary meanings of the words, you would think Lisa loved her boss, loved writing reports, and loved the rain. You would think she was having the best day of her life. But because you are training your ears to hear sarcasm, you know the truth. You know she hates the reports, she hates the rain, and she just wants to go home and sleep. This is the difference between hearing English and understanding English. Understanding means catching the secret messages hidden inside the sentences. Let us look at another part of their conversation. Ben takes a sip of his coffee and makes a strange face. He says, "Wow, this coffee is quite unique today." Lisa asks him, "Is it bad?" Ben shakes his head and says, No, it is just very different. It has an interesting flavor." What is Ben actually saying here? He is using those subtle, polite words we talked about earlier. Unique, different, and interesting. In a coffee shop, if the coffee tastes good, you just say it tastes good. You say it is delicious. You do not say it is unique unless something is wrong with it. Maybe it tastes burnt, or maybe the milk is sour. Ben is being polite to the barista by not shouting that the coffee is terrible, but he is telling Lisa that he does not like it by using vague, slightly strange words. As a listener, when you hear someone describe food or drink as unique or interesting, your brain should automatically translate that to bad or weird. This kind of polite complaining is so common that if you do not understand it, you might accidentally offer someone more of something they hate. Imagine you are at home cooking dinner for your friend Mark. You make a special pasta dish. Mark takes a bite, chews it slowly, and says, "This is very interesting. I have never tasted spices like this before." If you do not understand subtle meaning, you might smile and say, "Oh, thank you. Here, let me give you a second plate." But Mark actually thinks the spices are terrible. He is just trying to be nice because you cooked for him. If you understood the subtle meaning, you could say, "Yeah, I tried something new," but you do not have to eat it if you do not like it. That would make Mark feel relieved, and it would show him that you truly understand English on a deep level. I want to take a moment to talk about how you can practice this on your own, because you cannot always be listening to me. You need to start watching English movies and television shows with a completely new mindset. When you watch a movie, do not just read the subtitles. Subtitles will only give you the words, and we already know that the words are often lying to you when sarcasm is involved. Instead, turn the subtitles off or put them in English and watch the actors. Watch their faces, watch their eyes, listen to the pitch of their voices. When an actor says something nice in a movie, but their face looks angry or annoyed, stop the movie. Go back 10 seconds. Listen again. Ask yourself, why did they say that? What is the situation? What do they actually mean? This is how you build your listening muscle. It takes time, but it is incredibly rewarding. You will start noticing patterns. You will notice that native speakers use certain phrases over and over again when they are being sarcastic. Phrases like big deal, which means something is not a big deal at all. Or phrases like, well, excuse me, which means they are annoyed that you interrupted them or corrected them. Or the phrase gee thanks, which is almost always sarcastic. If someone helps you carry heavy bags to your car and you say gee thanks, you sound ungrateful. You only use gee thanks when someone does something that does not actually help you at all. Let me give you a perfect example of gee thanks. Imagine you are trying to fix a broken lamp in your living room. You are holding a screwdriver, you are focused, and your roommate Jack walks into the room. He looks at you, points at the lamp, and says, "You know, you are holding the screwdriver upside down." You look at the screwdriver, realize he is right, feel a little bit embarrassed, and say, "Gee, thanks, Jack. That is really helpful right now." You do not actually think he is helpful. You are annoyed that he pointed out your mistake. But you use sarcasm to cover up your embarrassment. If you just said, "I am annoyed that you said that," it would make the room tense. By saying, "Gee, thanks," you acknowledge your mistake, but you keep the mood light. If you are watching an American movie or a British TV show, you will hear gee thanks at least once every episode. Start listening for it. When you hear it, do not think about the word thanks. Think about the feeling of annoyance. Another phrase you need to listen carefully for is could be worse. This is a very interesting phrase because it can be genuine, but it is very often used as a subtle way to complain. Imagine your friend invites you to her new apartment. You walk in, and the apartment is extremely small. There is hardly any space to walk. There is one tiny window. You look around and you say, "Well, it is cozy." Cozy is another one of those secret code words. In a real estate advertisement, cozy means small and warm. But in real life, when someone walks into a tiny, cramped space and says it is cozy, they mean it is too small, but they are trying to find something nice to say. Then your friend sighs and says, "Yeah, it could be worse." She is using understatement. The apartment is bad, but she is trying to make herself feel better by pretending it is not that bad. As a listener, you should hear could be worse and understand that the person is actually disappointed, but they are trying to stay positive. You should not respond by saying, "Yes, you could be living in a box." That would be too literal. You should match her subtle tone and say something like, "It has great natural light," which is another polite way of saying, "Well, at least the window is nice." Let us do a deep dive into a conversation between two brothers, Kevin and Ryan. They are trying to put together a large piece of wooden furniture. It is a bookshelf. They have been working on it for 3 hours. The instructions are confusing. They have extra screws left over, and the bookshelf is leaning to the left. Kevin steps back, looks at the bookshelf, wipes sweat from his forehead, and says, "I think we did a fantastic job." Ryan crosses his arms, looks at the leaning bookshelf, and says, "Oh, absolutely. We are clearly experts at this." Kevin says, "We should probably start a furniture building business." Ryan says, "Definitely. We will make millions." Now, listening to this, an intermediate English learner might get very confused. Why are they talking about starting a business if the bookshelf is broken? The reason is that they are using sarcasm to deal with their failure. Building furniture is supposed to be easy, but they failed. Admitting that they failed feels bad, so they pretend to be incredibly successful. They use strong, positive words like fantastic, experts, and millions to highlight exactly how bad the situation is. The humor comes from the huge gap between reality and their words. When you listen to this kind of conversation, you have to pay attention to the rhythm of the speech. Sarcasm often has a specific rhythm. People might speak a little slower, or they might put emphasis on the wrong word. Kevin might say, "We did a fantastic job," putting all the stress on fantastic. That stress is a big flashing light telling you that he does not mean it. If he meant it, he would just say it normally. So when you are practicing your listening, do not just listen for the words. Listen for the stress. Listen for the words that sound too loud or too stretched out. Those are usually the words that carry the sarcastic meaning. If a coworker says, "You are only 3 hours late," and they stretch out the word "only," they are making fun of you for being late. They are saying that 3 hours is a very long time, not a short time. The word "only" is the key to the whole sentence. Without the stress, the sentence means nothing. With the stress, it is a clear joke. I also want to talk about how sarcasm changes depending on who you are talking to. You would not use heavy sarcasm with your boss or with a stranger at a bus stop because it is too risky. They might think you are being rude. Sarcasm is mostly used with friends, family members, and close coworkers. It is a way of showing intimacy. It shows that you are comfortable enough with someone to joke around with them. So when you are listening to English conversations, pay attention to the relationship between the people. If two friends are talking, the chances of hearing sarcasm are very high. If a customer is talking to a bank teller, the chances are very low. This context clue will help you prepare your ears for what is coming. If you know you are listening to a casual conversation between friends, you can expect to hear hidden meanings. You can turn on your sarcasm radar. Let us imagine a conversation between a husband and a wife, Daniel and Sophie. Daniel comes home from work and walks into the kitchen. Sophie is standing there with her hands on her hips. The kitchen sink is full of dirty dishes. The trash can is overflowing, and there are shoes all over the floor. Daniel smiles and says, "Wow, you have been so productive today." Sophie stares at him and says, "Oh yes, I have just been relaxing all day. What is happening here?" Daniel is teasing his wife. He knows she had a busy day, but he is pretending that the messy house means she did nothing. Sophie understands the tease, so she plays along. She says she has been relaxing, even though she clearly has not. They are both using sarcasm to talk about the messy house without actually having a serious argument about it. It is a way to bring up a problem, but keep it playful. If you were listening to this, you would hear the teasing tone in Daniel's voice. It would sound light and playful, not angry. If he was actually angry, his voice would be hard and loud. But because it is soft and teasing, you know it is sarcasm. Now imagine the exact same kitchen, but Daniel comes home and he is in a terrible mood. He had a bad day at work. He walks in, sees the mess, and his voice is very flat and cold. He says, "Wow, you have been so productive today." The words are exactly the same. But this time, it is not a playful tease. This time, it is passive aggression. He is actually angry, and he is using sarcasm as a weapon to criticize her. This is the hardest part of listening to English. The exact same sentence can mean two completely different things, depending only on the tone of voice. This is why I always tell my students to stop translating and start feeling. You have to feel the emotion in the speaker voice. Are they smiling when they speak? Is there a little laugh in their voice? If yes, it is a joke. Are their words sharp and cold? Is there silence after they speak? If yes, it is probably passive aggression. You do not need to analyze every single word. You just need to ask yourself, does this person sound happy or angry right now? That simple question will give you the answer 90% of the time. Let us practice this feeling with a few quick scenarios. Imagine you are walking down the street with your friend Nathan. A car drives by very fast through a puddle and it splashes dirty water all over your new pants. Nathan looks at you and says, "Well, you needed a wash anyway." How does Nathan sound? He sounds amused. He is trying to make you laugh so you do not get too angry about your pants. He is using sarcasm to lighten the mood. Now imagine a different scenario. You borrow your friend Oliver's favorite jacket. You accidentally tear a hole in the pocket. You give it back to him and tell him you are sorry. Oliver looks at the hole, takes a deep breath, and says quietly, "Well, I did not really like this jacket anyway." How does Oliver sound? He sounds sad and restrained. He is trying to be polite by not yelling at you, but he is clearly upset. The sarcasm here is a cover for his real feelings. In both scenarios, the speaker says something they do not mean, but the emotion behind the words is completely different. Your job as a listener is to catch that emotion. I want to share one more secret with you about subtle meanings in English. Sometimes people do not use opposite words at all. Sometimes they just drop a tiny hint, and they expect you to figure out the rest. This is called hinting. Imagine you are sitting on the couch watching television with your roommate Grace. It is getting late, maybe 11 o'clock at night. You have work the next day. Grace is also tired, but neither of you wants to be the first person to say, "I want to go to bed," because that might seem rude. So instead, Grace looks at the clock, yawns, and says, "Wow, look at the time. It is getting pretty late." She does not say, "Let us go to bed." She just makes a comment about the time. That is a hint. She is subtly telling you that she wants to stop watching television. If you understand subtle meaning, you will say, "Yeah, we should probably get some sleep." If you do not understand subtle meaning, you will say, "Yeah, it is late. and then you will keep watching television. Grace will get annoyed, but she will not tell you why, because in her mind, she already told you by talking about the time. Hinting is used in every area of life. In a restaurant, if the waiter comes to your table and asks if you need anything else, and you say, "No, just the check, please," you are hinting that you want to leave. If you are at a party and you start saying, "I have a really long drive home tonight," you are hinting that you want to leave the party. If someone asks you to lend them money and you say, "I just paid my rent, so things are a little tight right now," you are hinting that you do not want to lend them money. Native speakers use hints to avoid direct confrontation. They think being direct is too aggressive, so they wrap their real meaning in soft, polite sentences. As an English learner, you have to train yourself to hear these soft sentences as loud and clear messages. When someone talks about how late it is, hear the words, "I want to go to bed." When someone talks about being busy, hear the words, "I cannot help you." When someone says a meal is interesting, hear the words, "I do not like this." Let us go back to our friends at the coffee shop, Lisa and Ben. They are still sitting at their table. The rain is still pouring outside. Lisa has finished complaining about her boss and the 50 reports. Ben puts his empty coffee cup down and says, "So, are you ready to head back to the office?" Lisa sighs and says, "I guess so. I suppose we cannot sit here forever." Ben says, "No, I suppose we cannot. It is just so warm and comfortable here." Lisa looks at him and says, "And the weather outside is so inviting." Now, this is beautiful English. Neither of them wants to go back to work. But they will not say, "I hate work and I do not want to go." Instead, they talk about how comfortable the coffee shop is. And Lisa says the weather is inviting, which means the weather is terrible and she does not want to walk in it. They are both hinting that they want to stay, but they both know they have to leave. By understanding their subtle meanings, you can feel the reluctance they have. You can feel that they are dragging their feet. If you only listen to the words, you might think Lisa actually liked the weather. But because you are a smart listener, you know she is complaining in the most polite, subtle way possible. This level of understanding is what will make you feel truly fluent. Fluency is not about knowing every single word in the dictionary. I am a native English speaker, and I do not know every word in the dictionary. Fluency is about knowing what people mean even when they are not saying it directly. It is about reading the room. It is about hearing a tone of voice and knowing instantly if someone is joking, if someone is angry, or if someone is just being polite. When you master this, you will stop feeling like an outsider. You will stop having those awkward moments where you laugh at the wrong time because you did not realize someone was serious. You will be able to navigate social situations with confidence, and people will respect you for it. Now that your ears are warmed up to all of this, I want to introduce you to something a little bit more tricky. I want to talk about the backhanded compliment. A backhanded compliment is a statement that sounds like a compliment on the surface, but it actually contains a hidden insult or a little sting. It is a very clever way for someone to criticize you while pretending to be nice. If you are not listening closely, you might walk away feeling good about yourself, and then 10 minutes later, you will suddenly realize that they actually said something really mean. Let me give you a very common example so you can hear what this sounds like. Imagine you just bought a new jacket. You are really proud of it. It is bright red, it is very bold, and you wear it to a party. Your friend Chris sees you and says, "Oh, wow, I could never wear a jacket like that. You are so brave." Now, the word brave is usually a positive word, right? It means you are courageous. But think about the context. It is just a jacket. It does not take courage to wear a jacket. So why did Chris use that word? Chris is subtly saying that the jacket is too loud or too strange or that it looks bad. But he does not have the guts to just say it looks bad. By calling you brave, he is making himself look like the normal one and making you look like the weird one for wearing it. If you just hear the word brave and smile and say thank you missed the hidden insult. But if you are a trained listener, you will hear the slight pause before he speaks. You will notice the look in his eye, and you will understand that he actually dislikes the jacket. Another classic backhanded compliment happens when people talk about age or appearance. Imagine your coworker Megan comes to work with a new haircut. It is very short. She asks you what you think, and you say, "It makes your face look so much thinner." Again, on the surface, thinner is often seen as a compliment in some cultures. But Megan might hear that and think, "Wait, did you think my face looked fat before?" You are pretending to compliment her new haircut, but you are actually sneaking in a comment about her weight. When native speakers do this, their tone of voice is usually very sweet. They smile a big fake smile, and they speak in a higher pitch than normal. This sweet tone is a huge warning sign. When someone is overly sweet about a comment regarding your appearance or your choices, your brain needs to wake up and analyze the words. Ask yourself, is this actually a compliment, or is there a hidden knife inside it? Understanding backhanded compliments is so important for your social life in English. Sometimes people do it on purpose to be mean, but very often they do not even realize they are doing it. It is just a bad habit. But as a listener, you need to know how to react. If someone gives you a backhanded compliment, you can choose to ignore the hidden insult and just say, "Thank you." Or if you want to show that you understood their subtle meaning, you can look them right in the eye, smile, and say something like, "I will take that as a compliment." This is a brilliant English phrase. When you say, "I will take that as a compliment," you are telling the other person, "I heard what you said. I know it was a little bit rude, but I am going to pretend you were being nice." It is a very polite but firm way to defend yourself without starting an argument. Let us move away from insults and look at another way native speakers hide their true meaning. I want to talk about exaggeration. Sometimes people do not say the opposite of what they mean, and they do not hide insults and compliments. Sometimes they just make the truth sound 100 times bigger than it actually is. We call this hyperbole, but you can just think of it as extreme exaggeration. People do this when they are frustrated, when they are tired, or just to make a boring story more exciting. If you take these exaggerated words literally, you will think English speakers are completely crazy. But if you understand that they are just using dramatic words to express a feeling, you will find it very funny. Imagine you are waiting at a bus stop with your friend James. You have been waiting for 15 minutes. The bus schedule says the bus should be there at 2 o'clock, and it is now 2:15. James looks at his watch, sighs heavily, and says, "We have been standing here for 1,000,000 years. My legs are about to fall off." If you are a beginner, you might look at James' legs in panic because you think they are actually going to detach from his body. But of course, they are not. He has just been standing for 15 minutes. He is using exaggeration to show you that he is impatient. He does not actually mean 1,000,000 years. He means a long time. When you listen to native speakers, you will hear phrases like, "My head is exploding," "I am starving to death," or "I have a ton of homework." Nobody has a ton of homework. A ton is 2,000 pounds. They just have a lot of homework. By using these extreme words, the speaker is sharing their emotion with you. They want you to say, "Oh, I know, it is so annoying." They want you to join them in their frustration. Let us put James and his bus stop frustration into a full conversation so you can hear the flow. You and James are waiting. He says, "We have been here for 1,000,000 years." You do not say, "Actually, James, it has only been 15 minutes." That makes you sound like a robot. You say, "I know, right? If the bus does not come in the next 5 seconds, I am going to scream." Now you are doing it too. You are not actually going to scream. You are matching his level of exaggeration. James laughs and says, "And of course, it is freezing cold. I am turning into an ice cube." You say, "Me too. My fingers are completely numb." In this conversation, nobody is actually dying. Nobody is actually freezing. And nobody has been waiting for 1,000,000 years. But the emotion is real. They are both cold and impatient. The exaggerated words are just tools to express that emotion. As a B1 listener, your job is to filter out the crazy words and focus on the real feeling underneath. When someone says they are starving, do not offer them a hospital, just offer them a sandwich. There is another very subtle English skill you need to learn, and it is all about the tiny words people use to buy time. Have you ever noticed how native speakers rarely give a direct answer immediately? If you ask a native speaker a slightly difficult question, they will usually make a small sound or say a small word before they answer. They might say, "Well," or they might say, "Honestly," or they might say, "To be perfectly honest with you." These little phrases are like warning signs. They tell you that the speaker is about to say something that might be a little bit negative or something that goes against what you want to hear. If you ask your friend Hannah if she likes your new boyfriend, and Hannah pauses, looks at the floor, and says, "Well, he is very nice," you should immediately know that she does not like him. The word "well" at the beginning of a sentence is a huge clue. It means the speaker is hesitating. They are trying to find a polite way to say something negative. If Hannah actually liked your boyfriend, she would not say "well." She would just say, "Oh my goodness, I love him. He is so funny." But when she says, "Well, he is very nice," she is using the word "nice" as a placeholder. Nice is the most boring, safe word in the English language. It means nothing. If someone is great, you say they are great. If someone is nice, it usually means they have no personality, or that you do not like them but you do not want to be rude. So when you are listening to English, pay very close attention to the first 2 seconds of a person response. If you hear a pause followed by a word like "well," "honestly," or "look," prepare yourself for a subtle rejection or a polite criticism. Let us practice this with a workplace scenario. Imagine you work in an office and your boss, Daniel, asks you to work on Saturday. He says, "We are really behind on this project. Do you think you could come in for a few hours on Saturday?" You do not want to work on Saturday. You want to sleep. But you cannot say, "No, Daniel, I will not work on Saturday." That is too direct. So you take a breath, you look at Daniel, and you say, "Well, I would really love to help out, but I actually have a family thing I cannot miss. Let us break down what you just did. You started with well, which is your hesitation warning. Then you said you would love to help, which is a polite lie to soften the blow. Then you gave a vague excuse about a family thing. A family thing is the ultimate subtle excuse. It could be a birthday, a dinner, or just sitting on the couch watching television. By being vague, you are not inviting Daniel to ask more questions. And you said you cannot miss it, which makes it sound like you have no choice. Daniel hears all of this. And because he speaks English natively, he hears the subtle code. He knows you are saying no. He will not push you. He will say, "Oh, okay, no problem. I will ask someone else." Now, I want to talk about one of the shortest, most dangerous words in the English language. The word is fine. This word has caused more arguments between couples, friends, and family members than any other word in the dictionary. Fine is a trap. On paper, fine means good or acceptable. If someone asks you how your coffee is and you say it is fine, it means it tastes normal. But in an emotional conversation, fine almost never means good. Imagine your roommate Zoe comes home from a date. She looks upset. She throws her bag on the floor and sits on the couch. You sit next to her and ask, "How was your date?" Zoe crosses her arms, stares straight ahead, and says in a flat, cold voice, "It was fine." If you just learned English from a book, you would think, "Oh, great, the date was good, but look at the situation. She threw her bag. She is staring straight ahead. Her voice is cold." The word fine here is a shield. She is using it to block you from knowing her true feelings. She is actually very angry or very sad, but she does not want to talk about it. When you hear someone say fine in a sharp or quiet voice, do not believe the word. Believe the body language and the tone. If you want to be a good friend, you do not say, "Oh, that is nice." You say, "It does not sound fine. Do you want to talk about it?" That is how you show true fluency. Fluency is not just about speaking perfectly. It is about listening perfectly. It is about hearing the word fine and knowing that it actually means the exact opposite of fine. Let us look at another workplace situation where tone changes everything. You are sitting in an open office. It is lunchtime. One of your coworkers, Eric, brings a bag of microwave popcorn to his desk. He puts it in the break room microwave and leaves it there for 4 minutes. You know that popcorn should only be in the microwave for 2 minutes. Suddenly, the entire office smells like burning plastic and smoke. Eric walks back into the break room, opens the microwave, and black smoke pours out. Your other coworker, Sophia, looks at the smoke, looks at Eric, and says, "Wow, Eric, smells like you made a gourmet meal in there." Now, Sophia is using heavy sarcasm. Gourmet meal means high quality, expensive food. Burnt popcorn is the opposite of a gourmet meal. But if Sophia says it with a big smile and a laugh in her voice, she is just teasing him. It is funny. But imagine if Sophia is already annoyed because Eric is always messy. Imagine she says, "Wow, Eric, smells like a gourmet meal," but her voice is tight. She does not smile, and she turns her back to him immediately. Now the sarcasm is a weapon. She is publicly shaming him for being careless. The words are exactly the same, The subtle meaning is completely different, and the only way you know the difference is by listening to her voice and watching her face. This is why I always tell my students that listening practice should not just be in your ears. It should be in your whole brain. You have to imagine the scene. When you listen to a podcast or an audio lesson, create the movie in your head. Picture the people standing in the room. Picture their faces. If you practice this way, your brain will start connecting the tone of voice to the emotion automatically. You will not have to translate the English into your native language first. You will just feel the emotion, and you will understand the meaning instantly. Let us create a long, detailed scene in your mind right now. I want you to imagine a large family dinner. It is a Sunday afternoon. The whole family is sitting around a big wooden table. There is a father named Arthur, a mother named Linda, an aunt named Beth, and a young man named Ryan. Ryan is 22 years old. He just graduated from university, but he has not been able to find a job yet. He is wearing a very wrinkled shirt, and he looks a little bit sleepy. The family is eating roast beef and mashed potatoes. Aunt Beth looks at Ryan's shirt and says, "Ryan, you look so comfortable today. Did you just roll right out of bed?" Now, Aunt Beth is using sarcasm. She is not actually complimenting his comfort. She thinks he looks messy, and she thinks he should have dressed up for Sunday dinner. But she hides her criticism inside a joke. Ryan understands the subtle meaning. He knows she is criticizing his shirt, so he plays along. He smiles and says, "Yes, Aunt Beth. I wanted to make sure everyone felt relaxed around me." Now the father, Arthur, jumps in. He wants to change the subject because he does not want an argument. He looks at Ryan and says, "So Ryan, any luck with the job hunt this week?" Ryan knows this is a sensitive topic. He does not want to say, "No, Dad, nobody will hire me," because that sounds like a failure. So he uses a subtle phrase. He says, "Well, I have had a few interesting conversations with some companies. Let us stop right there." What does interesting conversations mean in the job hunting world? It means absolutely nothing. It is a polite way of saying, "I talked to a few people, but nothing good happened." If Ryan had a real job offer, he would say, "I got an offer." But by using the word interesting, he is making the situation sound active and positive, even though it is not. Linda, the mother, hears this subtle code. She knows interesting means nothing, but she wants to support him. So she says, "Oh, that is wonderful. I am sure something will come through soon." Aunt Beth, however, does not understand subtle codes, or she just chooses to ignore them. She pushes further. She says, "Interesting conversations do not pay the rent, Ryan. When are you going to get a real job?" The room goes completely silent. The tone has shifted from polite and subtle to direct and aggressive. Ryan feels attacked. He could yell at her, but instead he uses sarcasm to defend himself. He looks at his plate, takes a bite of mashed potatoes, and says, "You are absolutely right, Aunt Beth. I will just go outside and pick a job off the tree in the front yard." This is a beautiful example of using sarcasm to point out how stupid a question is. Aunt Beth is acting like getting a job is easy. Ryan uses the absurd image of a job tree to show her that she is being unrealistic. He is saying, "Jobs are not just sitting outside waiting for me. Stop acting like it is so simple." If you were sitting at this table, understanding this conversation would be incredibly difficult if you only translated the words. You have Arthur trying to keep the peace. You have Linda trying to be supportive. You have Beth being overly direct. And you have Ryan using sarcasm to protect his feelings. This is a real English conversation. It is messy, it is emotional, and nobody is saying exactly what they mean. But if your ears are trained, you can follow the story perfectly. You can feel the tension when Beth speaks. You can feel the relief when Ryan uses humor to deflect her criticism. This is the kind of listening that will make you feel like a native speaker. I want to talk about one more subtle tool that native speakers use all the time. It is the phrase "I mean." Native speakers say "I mean" constantly. They say it at the beginning of sentences, in the middle of sentences, and at the end of sentences. But "I mean" does not always mean that you are explaining something. Sometimes it is used to soften a disagreement. Imagine your friend says, "I think the new Batman movie is the best movie of the year." You completely disagree. You think it was boring. You could say, "You are wrong, it was terrible," but that is too aggressive. Instead, you say, "I mean, it was okay, but I thought the story was a little slow." By starting your sentence with, "I mean," you are making your opinion sound softer. You are saying, "I am not trying to fight with you, but my opinion is different." When you hear someone start a sentence with, "I mean," especially if they drag the word out like "I mean," you should prepare to hear a polite disagreement or a gentle correction. Another filler word that carries a lot of subtle weight is "obviously." This word is very dangerous if you use it wrong, and very telling if you listen for it. If someone uses "obviously" correctly, it means the fact is clear to everyone. Obviously, the sky is blue. But in conversation, people use "obviously" to show impatience. If you ask your coworker a simple question, like "Did you lock the front door?" and they sigh and say, obviously, they are not just saying yes. They are saying, "Yes, and I cannot believe you asked me such a stupid question." They are insulting your intelligence in a very subtle, quiet way. When you hear "obviously" in a flat or annoyed tone, you are hearing a microaggression. The person is angry at you, but they are hiding it behind one single word. If you hear someone say, "obviously," the best thing to do is just nod and move on because they are not in the mood to be friendly. Let us practice putting all these tiny clues together. Imagine you are in a meeting at work. Your manager, Claire, is presenting a new idea. She shows a slide on the screen. She explains her plan. When she finishes, she asks the room, "What do you guys think?" There is a long silence. Nobody speaks. Finally, a man named Peter clears his throat and says, "Well, I mean, the idea is definitely interesting. Let us translate Peter's secret message." He started with "well," which means he is hesitating. Then he said, "I mean," which means he is about to disagree softly. Then he used the word "interesting," which is our secret code word for bad. So Peter is actually saying, "I hate this idea, but I am too polite to say it directly." Claire hears this. She understands the subtle code. She might frown a little bit, but she will not yell at Peter because Peter was polite enough to use subtle words. If Peter had said, "This is a terrible idea," it would cause a fight. But by using "well," "I mean," and "interesting," he safely communicated his dislike without breaking the rules of English politeness. This is the hidden game that English speakers play every day. It is a dance of words. Everyone is trying to be nice, everyone is trying to avoid conflict, and everyone is trying to express their true feelings without hurting anyone else. As a learner, You are not just learning grammar. You are learning the rules of this social dance. When you understand these rules, you can join the dance. You can use words like well and interesting yourself. You can use sarcasm to make people laugh. You can understand when someone is annoyed at you, and you can fix the situation before it gets worse. I want to give you one final, very important piece of advice before we finish. Do not try to use sarcasm yourself until you feel completely comfortable understanding it. Sarcasm is like a sharp knife. In the hands of a chef, it is a beautiful tool that creates amazing things. But if you do not know how to hold it, you will cut yourself. I have seen many English learners try to be sarcastic with native speakers, and it comes out wrong. They use the wrong tone, or they use it in the wrong situation, and the native speaker gets confused or offended. So for now, just be a listener. Be a spy. Sit back and listen to how native speakers talk to each other. Watch how they use their voices to hide their true meanings. Watch how they laugh when someone says the opposite of the truth. When you are ready, start small. Try using a mild exaggeration. Tell your friend you are starving instead of just saying you are hungry. See how it feels? Try using the word fine in a flat voice when your friend asks how your day was, and see if they understand that you are actually tired. These small experiments will build your confidence, and one day you will be in a coffee shop. Someone will say something sarcastic, and you will laugh at the exact right moment without even thinking about it. That is the moment you will know you have achieved true fluency. We have covered so much ground together, and now I want to tie everything together with the most advanced listening skill of all. We are going to learn how to hear what is completely left unsaid. Let us start by talking about something that happens all the time during arguments or disagreements. I want to teach you about the non-apology. Sometimes people will say the actual words, "I am sorry," but they are not actually sorry for what they did. They are only sorry that you are angry. Imagine your roommate, Liam, leaves the kitchen a total disaster. There is food all over the counter. The sink is full of dirty water, and the trash is overflowing. You come home from a long day at work, see the mess, and tell Liam that you are really upset. Liam sighs, looks away from you, and says, "I am sorry you feel that way." If you just translate those words directly into your language, it sounds like a very nice apology. But listen to the tone. He did not say, "I am sorry I made a mess." He said he is sorry about your feelings. He is subtly shifting the blame onto you. He is making it seem like the problem is not the dirty kitchen, but rather that you are too sensitive about it. This is a very common passive-aggressive trick in English. When you hear someone say, "I am sorry you feel that way," or "I apologize if you misunderstood me," your brain should instantly recognize that the person is not taking responsibility. They are hiding behind polite, gentle words to make you look like the bad guy. I also want you to start paying very close attention to the sounds people make before they even speak a single word. The human voice is an instrument, and the sounds that come before the words will tell you everything you need to know about the hidden meaning. A long, heavy sigh before someone answers a question usually means they are annoyed or tired of talking about the topic. A sharp intake of breath, like a quick gasp, often means someone is surprised or offended by what you just said. And if someone suddenly lowers their volume, dropping to a whisper or a mumble, they are usually sharing a secret or saying something they are slightly ashamed of. Let me paint a picture for you. You are sitting in a busy restaurant with your friends Zoe and Nathan. Nathan is looking at the menu. He leans in close to you, lowers his voice to a whisper, and says, "Do not get the fish. I heard it is terrible here." He whispers because he does not want the waiter to hear him being negative about the restaurant. The whisper itself is the subtle clue. He is trying to protect the social situation. If you train your ears to hear these tiny volume changes, you will understand the hidden rules of the conversation without anyone having to explain them to you. It is also really important to know that sarcasm sounds a little bit different depending on where the English speaker is from. If you are learning American English, sarcasm is often very loud and obvious. People might be very dramatic, rolling their eyes, using big hand gestures, and stretching their words out for a long time. But if you are listening to British English, sarcasm is often completely deadpan. Deadpan means the person's face is completely blank. They show absolutely zero emotion. An English person might stand in the freezing rain and say, "Oh, brilliant. I absolutely love standing in the rain," with a totally straight face and a flat, bored voice. If you are not used to this, you might look at their serious face and think they are telling the truth. But the lack of emotion is the joke. They are acting like they do not care, which makes the situation funny. Australian English uses a lot of sarcasm too, often by making a statement sound like a question at the end. No matter which accent you are focusing on, the core rule is always exactly the same. Look for the mismatch between the situation and the words. Let us do one final big practice exercise together. I want you to imagine a cozy living room. 3 friends are sitting on a large couch watching a terrible movie on television. The movie is incredibly boring, the acting is bad, and the story makes absolutely no sense. Their names are Nora, Sam, and Chloe. Nora is the first one to speak. She stares at the television screen, tilts her head a little bit, and says, "Wow, this is exactly the kind of deep, thought-provoking cinema I was hoping for tonight." Listen to how she stretches out the words deep and thought-provoking. She is using heavy sarcasm. She is pretending the terrible movie is a masterpiece. Sam laughs quietly on the couch and says, "Oh, absolutely. The acting is just incredible. I totally believe that man is a police officer." Sam is joining in on the joke. He is pointing out a specific flaw in the movie, the fact that the actor looks nothing like a police officer, by calling his acting incredible. Now, Chloe, however, is not really paying attention to the movie at all. She is looking down at her phone, typing a message. She mutters without looking up, "Yeah, it is not bad." Now, remember our golden rule about the phrase "not bad." In this context, the movie is terrible. So when Chloe says "not bad" in a quiet, distracted voice, she actually means the movie is awful. But she is just being polite because Nora and Sam seem to be enjoying mocking it. Suddenly, Nora pauses the movie. She turns to Chloe, looks at the phone, and says, "Well, I can tell you are completely mesmerized by the plot." Chloe looks up from her phone, looking a little confused, and says, "Wait, what?" Nora says, "Oh, nothing. I just love how you are giving us your full attention." This is a brilliant example of a shift in sarcasm. At first, Nora was using sarcasm to joke about the movie, but now she is using it as a gentle weapon against Chloe. Nora is actually annoyed that Chloe is on her phone instead of watching the movie with them. Instead of starting a real fight by saying, Put your phone away. You are being rude. Nora uses exaggerated compliments. She says Chloe is mesmerized and giving her full attention. She is saying the exact opposite of the truth to make Chloe feel a little bit guilty. Chloe hears the sharp tone in Nora's voice. She understands the subtle attack hidden inside the nice words. And she quickly puts her phone in her pocket, saying, "Sorry, I am listening now." If you were sitting on that couch and you understood every single layer of that conversation, you are officially thinking like a native English speaker. I know that learning to listen this deeply can feel completely overwhelming at first. You might be sitting there thinking, "Alex, how am I supposed to hear all of this in real time? Real people talk so fast, and my brain is still trying to translate the basic words." I understand that feeling perfectly, and I want you to take a deep breath and relax. Remember that you did not learn to walk in one day. You fell down a lot, you stumbled, and then eventually it became automatic. Listening to subtle English is exactly the same. You will miss jokes. You will smile when you were supposed to frown. You will think someone is being serious when they are actually making fun of you. That is completely normal, and it is the only way to learn. The trick is to never get embarrassed. When you miss a subtle meaning in real life, just ask. You can look at the person, smile, and say, "Wait, are you being serious right now?" Or you can simply say, "I think I missed the joke. What do you really mean?" Native speakers love explaining their sarcasm to learners. It makes them feel clever, and it helps you learn the secret code. My final, most important tip for you today is to start a listening journal. It does not have to be complicated. Just keep a small notebook next to you when you watch an English movie or listen to an English podcast. When you hear a phrase that confuses you, write it down. Write down the situation in the movie. Did the person sound happy or angry? Were they smiling when they said it? Later, you can look it up or ask a teacher about it. By actively hunting for these confusing moments, you will start to see patterns. You will realize that the same tricky phrases are used over and over again in everyday life. Your brain will start to recognize them automatically, and they will stop being a mystery. We have finally reached the end of our journey together for today. We have explored sarcasm, backhanded compliments, polite rejections, non-apologies, and extreme exaggerations. You now have the tools you need to peel back the surface of English conversations and see the real human emotions hiding underneath. Thank you so much for being such a dedicated learner and for spending all this time with me on English in Fluency. If you enjoyed this deep dive into real English listening, please make sure to hit that subscribe button right now so you can continue building these incredible skills with me. I put so much heart into every single lesson because I know how hard you are working to learn this language, and I want to make it as easy and fun as possible for you. Leave a big thumbs up on this video if it helped you, and please share it with a friend who struggles to understand native speakers. Tell them to come watch this so they can learn the secret codes too. Keep your ears open, keep practicing every single day, and I will see you in the next video. Have a beautiful day, and bye for now.